All right, what is up, everybody? I am Elrock617. As you can see down here, we have my co-op partner for this game, darkalexandr.
Howdy, everybody.
So I think it was me that came up with the notion to want to do this. darkalexandr managed to get the top time in this game with another co-op partner of his named Boyo003, and I want to start by giving immediate props and positivity to that person for allowing me to borrow his partner to be able to play this game, because I got the idea to want to submit it for SGDQ because the co-op run has never been in a GDQ before. The solo run was last at AGDQ 2016, run by Makina Azul, and that run was super duper good. But a lot of the strats have improved since then for the solo run, and a lot of those were able to carry over to the co-op run, as we'll be showcasing here today. So we're going to get started off here at present pause. This is our current PB video, which is an 1834. It was the first 18 co-op. And it's also of note a double 1cc run. I'm running as Lisa, darkalexandr running as Marge. I've just been referring to this run as the Springfield City Girls just for fun.
I dig it.
So what we're going to do is, it's pretty simple to start. We're essentially doing the same thing we'd be doing in a solo run, except we just get to cover more ground. One person tends to want to cover the back, because enemies can spawn from there. Got the nuke. I'm going to drop this on these guys here. Didn't quite take care of all of them. You're usually able to do that, but it's kind of random, because enemies just don't know how to behave in this game. They kind of just show up on screen and do whatever they want most of the time. Pick this bus stop sign. Marge is going to take care of that. Lodge into those guys. Unfortunately, we didn't get to kill him, but move on. A big part of knowing what to do in this game on certain enemies is knowing how much health they have. Most standard enemies die in 2 hits or in 1 special, but some only take a single hit. Just knowing when and where those enemies are going to spawn specifically is the tough part. Get him out there. So we got a dual weapon fight here. Marge is going to toss the bowling ball for an easy 2 hits. Those 2 hits are much faster than getting in 2 hits with the broom, and it does the same damage as 2 broom hits would do. So almost had a perfect RNG fight there. The last cycle, he decided to troll me. You have to extend the 3rd cycle a little bit. Normally, you can just toss the broom and then just do a special, and it kills him. But
co-op does add a little bit of health to all of the bosses, and yes. I believe the JP version is the one that features all of these weapons, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, I forgot to mention that. This is the Japanese version, which the US version has its own quirks. It is, however, unfortunately also a lot more difficult, and we want to play for speed. And the Japanese version is by far the faster of the 2 versions. This is also where darkalexandr is going to be pulling most of his weight. He's way too good at the bonus games. He's significantly better than I am. Like, my best time on that one particularly is like a low 3, and he's getting like 5s, so clearly I'm trash. So Marge is going to cover the left here. We utilize a lot of what we do there based on spawn points. Lisa, being player 4 designated, spawns primarily on the right, so I tend to not take care of enemies on the left, whereas Marge is in prime position to do that.
Sonic Mania is 27.
Trying to think of what else to cover. So here we also have our next weapon, the hammer. Hammer's really good, just like the broom was. Unfortunately, only one of us gets one. Marge is on tire duty in case any of the enemies get away from me and get to the top, like that guy on the left definitely did, but they grouped together and managed to finish them off there. So now we have the tire anyway. Some of these hits can be a bit uncoordinated because hitboxes on the dives are, while very good, can miss at times just because enemies seem to have almost like random iframes in a way. They don't necessarily have that, but I'm still amazed that cart missed you, if I'm being perfectly honest. That cart was insane. It was like right on you.
That cart's got my number.
It's pretty mean. Same standard stuff you see in solo here. Fortunate miss there. The rabbits here have some weird timing. I usually go with an audio cue on them, but the very first one that pops out has a little bit different timing because of the fact that he does show up a bit later, or a bit earlier, and you have to catch the sound cue from the second guy, so you have to go a little bit earlier than you'd anticipate doing. Second boss is same as it is in solo, except just goes a bit longer. It's 1 extra cycle. All we're really hoping for is for him to not go into the background and start dropping cherry bombs. There's nothing we can do to control that. Of course, it did happen because I said something. I don't recall if I said something during the run itself, but there it was. It's a guaranteed time drain. Not much you can do. Did lose a little bit of time on that, and I think we have a little bit more time to save on that stage overall, but overall, in general, it was still okay. I should also point out that for those curious how we're playing this, when one of us is in Kentucky and the other one's in Michigan, we're playing over a remote net play source called Parsec. Not how we'd be running in a marathon, obviously. We both have the digital download version. I have PS3 and Xbox 360, and we've conceded that if this were to get in, we would be running on an Xbox 360. Because the stick that I use for my PC anyway is an Xbox 360 stick, so, and that's what Dark Alexander runs it on as well, so that only makes sense. But still, digital download, it runs the same on both editions, so there's no major differences. For the cemetery, this stage is kind of gross. It has not a lot of space to work with, and enemies get clustered really, really fast, which can work to our advantage if we're able to group them. But if they decide to belt scroll and troll a lot and whatnot, there may not be a whole lot we can do. This section is where things are going to start getting
mobility on us too.
Yeah, for sure. The zombies are a whole another animal. So here's where we had to farm a little bit for strats. So we're gonna let these guys despawn, and then Marge is gonna drop the nuke. Actually, no, wait. We decided to save it this time. I forgot because these guys were a bit more troublesome. That actually worked out okay. I wish we had been able to get all of them, but I think the timing on that would have been a little bit too rough. But still did okay. The final slingshot toss at the end there to take out those two guys is a strat provided by the runner by the name of Zurst, and it's great. Like I don't use a different strat at all for that second anymore. It just takes out two of them so much quicker, and you just get the end of the stage. Elevator's a pure time scam. Similarly to the TMNT run I had this year at AGDQ, we have in the skateboard stage where you just let enemies show up on screen and just don't interact with them. We're doing the same thing here. We're trying to get to the bottom of the elevator, and then we're just going to take them out then. That went a little unfortunately, though, because Marge did get grabbed, and one of the pink shirt guys showed up, and I definitely want them gone, because those guys have a lot more health than a standard enemy, so I'd rather just get rid of them and replace another enemy if I can. From here, we're just going to dive and go all over the place and not interact with anybody as best we can. Try to get out of the way of that guy, and that's on me. So,
we've got a couple of healing items here coming up for the boss, but we really want to try to maximize our health because this boss is a real cluster.
So how do I describe this boss? Every solo strat that carried over works well in co-op except for this boss. The solo strat of the quick kill, which is extremely efficient for solo runs, doesn't carry over here. Essentially, there's a big issue that was discovered by a Simpsons arcade runner named HDL, who runs the US version. He discovered that the little guy, being the problematic one here, he gains additional iframes on co-op, and nothing really describes or explains why he gets that except for the fact that there are more players on screen. It's as simple as that. It's really silly, but it's what they do. So normally with solo, what you could do is you could just corner them on both sides of you and just quick kill them with your specials, and it's really, really strong. But on co-op, you just don't have that option. It is the one part of the game that currently has the most danger of ending a 1cc, but I think with proper coordination we'll be fine. We've only had one deathless run of that stage. You can see there Dark Alexandr did take a death, but still turned out okay. We still got a gold split out of it because the stage itself was really good. For this stage, we actually get double weapons, which was not a thing once upon a time. The hammer was actually discovered on top of the bathroom door. I think I found it back in like late summer 2018 when I was grinding this game. Found it on a YouTube video. Didn't know it existed, and there it was. So here we just have double dive attacks, so we're just going to go crazy and kill these enemies. We're both essentially just super overpowered with these sub-weapons, so it's going to be pretty quick work.
Oh, okay. I did not realize. Yeah, the hitbox on that broom is a little strange, so it does take a little bit of effort to line up that hit.
Yeah, the weirdest thing is the slower attack, I think, is still the more efficient one. The one where you do like a short hop. Like that one seems to hit a lot more often. Tried to go for a despawn there, but Marge had to take care of that guy there. For this boss here, this is essentially just a shorter version of an older strat that involved just doing neutral jumps into dives. But thanks to Zurst's help, we discovered that we were able to just do short hops and just kill him with meaties. Takes more hits on co-op than it does on solo. Solo only takes 10 hits, co-op takes 12, but it's effectively the same fight. Another thing to point out from that, this game does have double team moves, but unfortunately they're not as efficient as I was hoping they would be. I think the one that Marge can utilize with one of the kids is actually the best of the 4 options that are available throughout the game. And we only used it at the start of the Stage 3 boss because, honestly, it actually adds time onto the run if we use them. Because it takes time to set them up, and we have to have like a point where we can actually take an opportunity to set them up, which is why the start of the Stage 3 boss is fine, because those guys show up on screen and have a cutscene and all that good stuff. Mind the follow alert there. On to stage 5. This is arguably the hardest stage in the game just for pure enemy routing. We don't get a sub-weapon until pretty far into the stage. Marge got comboed by the bees, very unfortunate. But the big issue is that, unlike the stage 3 issue that we have, they have too much space. We want them to have just like a reasonable amount of space, whereas in stage 5, they just get to run amok and act crazy and all this jazz. We're going to take the slingshot here. One person's going to hold the right. I think that's generally the slingshotter's job. And the person on the left can just hold off enemies that may show up. Slingshot has limited ammo, so we can't get too much use out of it. We're going to get as much out of it as we can. We are going to see some more enemies recessing on the bridge, because on solo, once you kill that guy, you can just keep going. But you have to turn left and kill one more guy there. Props to Makina for finding that broom in the woods there by the bear cub, because that makes this boss fight a lot more trivial than it used to be. This fight is honestly pretty simple, but it does have one significant downside. It's very random, particularly because of the boulders you saw I got hit there. I was trying to line up in the middle, which you can do depending on the spacing, but I decided to try it. I got it on a roll. So essentially player 2's job here is just to make sure they don't get hit by boulders. Easy peasy. Took him out, no deaths. Really solid fight. Could have been better because I did get hit, but I think we did. I think it turned out pretty well. As long as you can make sure you can get to your 2 hits every cycle and no one takes a death, you're good to go. Pretty simple stuff. So, moving on to stage 6, which this stage does have its quirks, but I think out of all the stages that go from solo runs to co-op runs, I think this one changes the least. Particularly in terms of the boss fight. Triggered a bomb set up there. That's actually kind of hard to set up. You probably had to wait a few frames longer to be able to get that, but you also run the risk of them doing like weird attacks like that roll that you see there. That roll is such a troll move. So we tried doing a double team strat here at one point, and that definitely didn't work. The big mistake I made here was not going to the left. But there we go. Okay. Saxophones are the trolliest enemies in this stage. If they tend to get out of hand and try to go off screen and try to just drop notes on you, they can be a real hassle. Here we're just going to take these letters, group some enemies. Meant to hit that guy, but he didn't get in the way. I think I mistimed it. Good stuff there.
Has the biggest threat just because he's on a different side.
Power plant workers are kind of a mixed bag. They too have the whole like 1 HP versus 2 HP thing.
We'll get the nuke.
For this nuke, we get really easy fights here on the Devils. That was actually another discovery by Zerst, and it made that segment a complete trivial. What it used to happen was
those Devils are crazy.
yeah, for sure. I still don't think that double team was intentional, but we got to use it. It's fine. So the idea here is we want to drain him to his first cycle. Didn't want to get hit there, but what we're going to do now is I'm going to go and grab this bowling ball. We're going to hit him twice to start the second segment. And ideally what we want to do is we want to try to get him into phase 3 before he jumps again. He did get one more jump off, so not perfect, but still pretty good. Getting that out the second jump is definitely a workable strat. Third cycle went really, really quickly. And then for the last cycle, we're just going to go ham with specials. And what we're essentially, for time reasons, the only thing we're hoping for is that he's going to stay on screen. He comes to the middle of the screen normally, but sometimes he also goes off screen.
And he died mid-screen. That's great.
So, got good luck there.
Very,
Very, very good luck there. Chillin'.
8-second save. Outworld.
Now we're going to get
Dropping all that pizza.
our second bonus game. Something I found out in the US version of this game, the bonus games are the only way that you can
Can't say number 26.
refill health between stages. So you only get to try to refill health before 2 separate
Thank you
stages.
so much, my dear friend.
Makes the 1cc really, really hard. But for JP, you get your health refill at the beginning of every stage, and DA is going to kill this bonus game real quick with a 6. I can only dream of a 6. I'll have to pick up his strats one day. Too good. He is too good.
You're too
I think
good.
at 710 was my best.
So anyway, Channel 6, which is a total flavor fail on Stage 7. This stage is honestly not that bad for an end-of-game stage. The boss can be a bit of a jerk, but the big upside for us in this stage is we start the stage with sub-weapons, and we get another one halfway through the stage. So we're just going to have the best moveset possible for the most of the stage and just be able to take care of enemies. Even better, for co-op, Marge gets access to this nuke. She's going to drop on these enemies here. That segment's a real problem. Like, I prefer those guys to just not be in that kind of cloistered space. Just take care of them. some food, because
the
why
retro-
not?
hey, message you on Discord.
Definitely did not want to get hit by that hat, but hats are trolly.
Retrothon
Whatever.
schedule went live today.
Yeah,
Okay.
having that ranged attack, those hat guys are crazy.
Yeah, it's one of those things you really got to watch out for. The robot's not that much more difficult than the solo run would be. He only takes one more hit.
Would recommend reaching out
And then
to
from
others
here, we've got
to know, or I
the
could
broom up at the top. Unfortunately, Marge got hit by the door there.
or please.
But now we have double sub-weapons, and we're set. We're going to need them, too, because the segment upcoming with the ninja enemies is... It's what it is. these guys are annoying. They have hitboxes on just about everything. Their backflip has a hitbox, for crying out loud.
Yeah, their moveset is super tough to deal with without a sub-weapon for sure.
Yeah, I think the most frustrating thing they have outside the backflip is they can do a high jump that ends in a jump kick, but it has this really weird hitbox where it can hit behind. So if you try to sneak up behind them and hit them from the back while they're jumping, it just doesn't work. Like, they still beat you.
Shouldn't have to go after that guy.
A few more enemies here. Also, these guys are totally not foot soldiers for those that care about that sort of thing, because, you know,
Yeah,
that would be infringement. So for our boss, we're just going to adopt the solo strat. It's actually a great thing to have a co-op partner here, because the enemies that are going to spawn during this fight can actually be pretty well mitigated by having a second person.
Thank you.
I believe he only has one more cycle than he would in a one-player run, where he has 5 cycles. I think on 2P he just has 6.
Get out of here, homeboy.
Pretty good fight there.
Good stage.
And that's about as good as it's going to get. I never got interrupted.
Still a good stage.
Partner was there to make sure the enemies are gone.
Lost 4.5 seconds, but we're still 13.6 ahead.
So on to our last stage.
With a good Burns fight, we can definitely
Outside of the stage 3 boss,
PB here.
I'm not going to say that this is the one that's going to require the most work, but this is the one that I think it's going to require the most attention. Now, in this run, we completely nailed it. It's a big reason why I'm so proud of this run. Won't go into the Smithers fight. Smithers is honestly fairly simple. He has a really degenerate attack with his cape, but we can deal with that. In fact, the whole point is we're trying to get him to whiff that so I can hit him back, and he got away from me. But we can get him back here. So lost a little bit of time there, but not the worst. Threw the bomb just because it was there. So ideally what we're going to do is we have a few cycles where we can get in these hits, but then we have to force him to whiff the cape. But after he whiffs the cape, he's no longer invincible, like you can see there. But eventually he's going to get to a point where we can just keep doing specials over and over and over,
Big drop. Big input drop.
and he's not going to be able to stop it. Did not want to get hit by that, of course, but I think I should be able to pin him in the corner. He got away. Let's try it again. I think it's going to take 6 hits from here, 5 or 6. Took 5. I think I had another hit from earlier. Going to try and collect some food from up top. Very good chance we'll need it. Healing is really strong for going against Burns.
Pretty high. Alright,
So this took a bit of theory crafting on my part.
try to get him to the right.
There's a well-known infinite that can be done on Burns in the JP version of this game, and I
Go
was
spawn the turkey.
essentially committed to the idea that you could do it on co-op as well.
Right.
And after a handful of save state practice, we finally got it in a practice run. Well, I shouldn't say practice run, but like, you know, a reload save state, and actually managed to get it. So we proved it was possible. But until this run, we couldn't get it in a run, which is unfortunate because I think we had at least one run that may have been on better pace than this overall, but then we dropped it. We just lost it. Lost about 15, 16 seconds off that. Ideally, what we're trying to do is just get him up against the bookcase and just go ham with these attacks.
You're a little lower than I'd like you to be, but so far so good.
Yeah, he just seems to be a little bit squirrelier in co-op than he does in single player for whatever reason.
At times, yeah. You also have to do this thing where you maintain rhythm because we don't want to double team attack, so we have to just keep hitting attack even while he's in transition. So that can do some weird things to the rhythm of it, but ideally we're just trying to get him in a really good spot and just go for it. And here I remember the whole time we were silent. I was like, all I kept thinking to myself was, I think we've got it. I'm not going to say anything to jinx it, but I think we've got it. We just had to keep hitting it. And prior to learning the co-op run, I don't think Darkalexandr had ever really pulled off the Infinite, so major props to him for learning that for this run. I thought that was just spectacular.
That's an 1834.
Yeah, I've definitely
Good
never
run
done
there.
it in a single run. I've done it with save states before we did this, just because I wanted to make sure I could do it. But yeah, that's definitely a hard one to land. So I was super stoked that we were able to hit this in this run.
It's a gooder for sure. So yeah, that's our cleanest run to date. It's also the current world record, and I can't imagine we won't try to improve on it up to and including up to GDQ in the future. Even though we may not be able to have the best coordination to do it in person because we live several hundred miles away. But for online net play, I think we did about as good as we could have. And being able to play in person is only just going to make it that much more efficient because then we're not going to have lag. We're going to be able to properly coordinate stuff.
Definitely agree.
I think this run has serious potential to be really fun to watch. It's a classic game. Everybody knows Simpsons Arcade. I haven't talked to a new person, not a new person today in my own stream who's like, man, I used to love this game growing up. And even though it's been in GDQ before, it hasn't been utilized in this capacity. So hope you all enjoyed yourselves and give it some consideration. In the meantime, this is El Rock and Dark Alexander signing off.